Okay, for the next lesson, we're going to talk about systems of equations in terms of word problems. So more like actual application, basis. So it's pretty short, as you can see. There's just these three problems. But there's really not a lot to word problems with systems because the only part that's new here is just how to set them up. Once you have them set up, then you can go to the previous lesson on how to put them in your calculator to solve these systems of equations. The key to solving a word problem is getting the equations correct. And it all starts with finding out what different things they're talking about. For example, we're gonna skip one for now and look at number 2. So in number 2, you can see that as we read the problem, so museum passes cost $5 for adults and $2 for children. One day the museum sold 1,820 passes for $6,100. How many of each type were sold? So the first step into setting up these word problems is to identify all the different things they're talking about. In this particular problem, they're talking about adults and children. So when we write out the word problem, we know we're only going to have 2 variables. So we can say A for adults, and let me do A over here, and C for children. So the next step after identifying that is to attach some sort of numerical value for each one. And this one's pretty easy because it says $5 for adults and $2 for children. So I can say 5A plus 2C. Now, the key here is what it equals to. Because 5 represents dollars and 2 represents dollars, what it equals to also has to represent dollars, which the only other thing is the 6,100. So that goes there. Now, the only other thing we have to is a total of 1,820 passes. The one thing that you'll always have is just the total number of actual things or people. So in this case, the last equation is just all the adults plus all the children has to equal 1,820 because there's 1,820 passes sold and there's only adults or children. So however many adults plus however many children you have is going to equal 1,820. And that's it. That's the hardest part right there. And then you just put that into the matrices, making sure that you choose a 2 by 2 because this is 2 variables and 2 equations, and figure out how many adults and children there are. So if you want, you can go ahead and pause the video. I'm going to plug it into my matrix and give you the correct answers. If you did this properly, the correct answer is 820 adults and 1,000 children. So that's how you do it. Again, setting it up is the only new part here. And so now we'll look at a slightly more complicated problem. Okay, so again, what we want to do here is identify the different pieces to these. Again, they're not going to be anything that's sort of hidden. It's going to be pretty obvious what the different things here are. So an amphitheater charges $75 for each seat in section A, $55 for each seat in section B, and $30 for each lawn seat. There are 3 times as many seats in section B as there are in section A. The revenue from selling all 23,000 seats is $870,000. How many seats are in each section? So again, real obvious to figure out here. You have a section A, a section B, and lawn. So you could just very well use the letters that are already given to it. So like A for section A, B for section B, and L for the lawn section. So then the next step again is to attach some sort of units to these. Well, we know prices, so we know that it's $75 for section A plus $55 for section B and $30 for the lawn seats. Now, because all of these represent dollar amounts, the total has to also be a dollar amount, which there is only one. It's $870,000. The next one, again, is the total number of things or people, which in this case are seats. So I know that all the seats in section A plus all the seats in section B plus all the lawn seats should be equal to all of the seats total, which that is 23,000. Now, the third equation is a little bit more tricky because it says there are, and I'll highlight it here, there are 3 times as many seats in section B as in section A. Now, here's where it gets a little confusing. So you might think that there are 3 times as many seats in section B as there are in A. So you might think, well, maybe I'll write this as there are 3 times as many seats in section B, as there are in A. You might set it up as 3B equals A. But here's the issue. If there are 3 times as many seats in section B than there are in A, then it wouldn't be 3 times B or 3B equals A. Think of it this way. If you had 3 times as many girls as boys in the class, would 3 times the girls equal the number of boys? No. If there are 3 times as many girls as there are boys, then you would need 3 times the boys to equal the number of girls. So it's actually backwards. So we actually need to have it be the other way around, to where B equals 3A. Okay, so I know that gets a little confusing, so if you are still confused by that, you are more than welcome to come and see me, and I can sort of try to explain it a little bit differently. But that's the equation actually. If you want to remember it this way, just write it how it sounds. There are 3 times as many seats in section B as there are in A, and then just know that that needs to be backwards. So the only thing that we need to do now is all of the letters are on the same side of the equal sign. So I would need to move this 3A over here by subtracting it. So it would be negative 3A plus B equals nothing, so 0. And we just move that up here. So my third equation, let me see if it'll let me erase all this, is negative 3B, let's see here, negative 3A plus B equals 0. And so this actually ends up being a 3 by 3, so you do have to put that in the matrix as a 3 by 3. Now again, we talked about this last lesson, there is no L. So when you go to put that into the matrice, you need to remember that there needs to be a 0 there in your matrice. So I'm going to go ahead and run this through in the matrix, as you should too. Pause the video and check back for the answer. Okay, we have the answer. Section A, there are 1,500 seats. Section B, there are 4,500 seats. And the lawn, oops, I did C. Oh, let's try that again. Lawn is 17,000. And that is the correct answer. One thing we can verify, it did say that there are 3 times as many seats in section B as there are in A. And yes, right here, we do have 3 times as many seats in section B as we do in A. That's it. Go and try big ideas. And then when you're ready, take your Alchemy quiz. Thanks.